In the camps, what began as a spontaneous expression of anger at the utter futility and humiliation of their existence has grown into a popular uprising led by Palestinian youths and supported by the entire population. Israel's response has shocked the world.
This is one of those examples where if I don't do something about a situation that I'm unhappy with, I'm in fact collaborating with it. In the summer of 1989, 4 Jewish American women artists, Miranda Bergman, Susan Green, Marlene Tobias, and Dina Redman, traveled to the West Bank to paint community murals with Palestinians. We named our project the Break the Silence Mural Project. For 9 weeks, we lived with a Palestinian family in the West Bank city of Ramallah. Working with Palestinian artists and community members, we painted 1 major mural and 5 smaller ones in cultural centers and childcare centers in West Bank towns and East Jerusalem. Our major mural is located in the Friends of the Community Charitable Society and Center for Popular Arts. It starts on the 1st floor and continues up the stairs to the 2nd floor. This mural had to be painted indoors, and as well, certain images could not be used due to the Israeli occupation.
Murals are an amazing process no matter where they happen. The whole process of doing them is talking and meeting with the people who live around the mural or work around the mural about what they want in the mural, because it's not a private statement. It's really a piece that's much bigger than any one person. The painting part of it is a process that just is sort of beyond words because people get so involved. You know, they always have comments, suggestions. Murals are generally designed, and this one was no exception, to include people who had absolutely no painting experience at all.
Some of the people we met were from Ramallah, but many were from somewhere else in Palestine, or from what is now Israel. The State of Israel was founded in 1948. In that year, close to 400 Palestinian villages were destroyed. The people we stayed with invited us to call them Mama and Baba. They said they would be our Palestinian parents, since we were so far away from our own families here in the United States. Living with a family in a refugee camp, we experienced firsthand what life is like under a military occupation. The shooting, the sound bombs, tear gas, the constant surveillance, and the fear at night that we would hear the Israelis kicking down the door, coming for someone. Journalists are forbidden in the territories. The people who let me tape this out of their window took a risk, lest a soldier look up and see me at the window. Where?
That's enough, I think.
The international section is about solidarity. Since the Intifada, there have been many solidarity delegations to Palestine from all over the world.
We painted the section on international solidarity, where we had a group of people playing London Bridge, was to symbolize building bridges and people cooperating together. And it's led by a Palestinian woman and a portrait of Catherine Smith, who's the leader of the Native American land struggle.
We were happy to meet some of the women in black who protest against the occupation every Friday since the beginning of the Intifada.
Let the Palestinian people be free, living in their state beside Israel.
I am here because all my family was in Auschwitz, and I don't want that the other shall suffer what I have suffered.
We taught a children's art class 4 times a week. It was pretty outrageous. We expected 30 kids. We usually had between 50 and 60. Kids were really enthusiastic. They painted scenes of their daily lives, which included a lot of soldiers and a lot of Palestinian people fighting with the soldiers.
Cultural Center was somewhat clandestine, And I had no sense at all of how alive the space was and how much use it got by so many different sectors of the community. There was a very large group that was working out at the center called Al-Fanoon, musicians and dancers.
Since the Intifada, 35 arrests of group members have been made, which makes performing very difficult.
Israel has no constitution. And so what that means is they have various different systems of law. They're using Israeli law, British law, Turkish law. And it means that there's really no answerable body. Any soldier can arrest any person at any time without a warrant, without having to go to a judge, without having to answer to anybody. It's completely up to the whim of the soldier.
There's such a rotation of people going in and out of jail that literally you don't ask a Palestinian male if you've ever been arrested. You ask them how many times they've been arrested.
The experiences that they would have in prison, people would universally describe going in. They would be chained to a wall with their hands behind their back, squatting. And there would be a pipe sticking out so that they couldn't lean back against the wall. And they would have a bag put over their head, and they would not be allowed to use the toilet. As we put the figures onto the mural, we sort of sprinkled actual dancers and musicians in with other figures, and the suggestion was made to us that we could include some of the people who had been killed, who were martyrs. One of the faces that we represented was somebody who was actually killed during the time that we were there. This young boy named Yasser Abu Ghosh, who was 16 years old at the time that he was killed. The Israelis had been trying to find him to arrest him for about 8 months, and he had finally been spotted a couple of blocks from the house by 2 Israeli officials in civilian clothes. They didn't identify themselves, and they didn't attempt to arrest him. They shot him twice in the back and twice in the head. And then they put him in the Jeep and sort of splayed him out like a trophy, like a deer that you would kill in the woods, and drove him around town for a couple of hours as he bled to death. We went to the mother's home, and when we got there, there were hundreds of people there sitting outside of the home and inside of the home. And we went and sat outside with the others for a while, and suddenly a woman came running up the road, and she was screaming and crying, and everybody stood up and rushed out into the road, and we didn't know what had happened. The soldiers had been watching the house, and when they saw people running out into the road, they drove up in their Jeeps and just started to fire on the crowd. They fired at the mourners who were sitting in front of the home. They fired at everybody. And that, I think, was our first experience of really being directly shot at. And then somebody translated to us that there had been a spontaneous funeral procession, and his best friend Rasha had been killed in the procession. He had been shot by the Israelis. He was 14 years old.
We saw posters of horses in many homes, a symbol of resistance, defiance, and dignity. We visited a family in a small town whose home was going to be demolished that evening. 15 people lived in the house. He had 2 sons under the age of 15 who were accused of burning the truck of a settler. We heard that every child that was accused of doing something in this town was accused of burning that truck, and the incident had taken place a year and a half before. So these 2 kids were taken to a special prison for children. They were tortured for a month, at the end of which they signed a confession, which was in Hebrew, a language that they don't understand, saying that yes, they had done it. And their punishment was that their family's house was going to be destroyed. The day that we visited, their possessions were all out on the sidewalk. They were sitting in their house. They, in quite typical fashion, offered us tea, coffee, juice, were incredibly hospitable, and told us their story and wanted us to take their case back to our people. And this is something we heard very often was, take our case. This is the Palestinian case. Permits to rebuild on one's own land are always denied. Once your house is destroyed, you can't build it again. And if you leave the land, then it would be confiscated. So many times what happens is that if a Palestinian family wants to keep their land, they wind up living in a tent. We took notes, and I walked around the house, and the only thing left up on the wall in one of the rooms in the back was this poster of these horses, really proud, running free on this beach. And on one part of the poster was a little photograph from a magazine of a really nice-looking bedroom scene, like the home and these horses. It was really an incredible image. Having the experience, we felt so blessed and so fortunate to meet these people who were so enlightened, really, could laugh in the face of adversity, but be very strong and clear so that it wasn't like they were compromising what they thought in order to laugh at it, but they really had this incredible sense of humor, which often reminded me of Jewish humor, actually. We felt very comfortable in the culture. We felt really at home. This mural could be outside because it was not visible from the street. With lots of help, we finished it in 6 hours. Behind the El Hakawate Theater Complex in East Jerusalem, we painted a mural with 8 Palestinian artists on the theme of solidarity. At the African Club, a community center in the old city of East Jerusalem, we painted this mural with 50 black Palestinians. At 2 childcare centers that are being run by the women's committees, we painted the subversive bunny murals. At the end of our trip, we had a dedication celebration at the main mural in the Friends of the Community Charitable Society. Over 150 people came, despite the fact that the Palestinians are forbidden to gather in groups.
هذه المجموعة عكست الصوت اليهودي الصحيح الإنساني اللي بيطالب بالانسحاب اللي بيطالب.
Our trip was more inspiring, educational, and rewarding than we could have imagined, and we want to continue the work. We're going to expand the Break the Silence Mural Project into the Break the Silence Artists Network.
When I hear a story and when I wonder why